For decades, nuclear war or deadly pandemics have been seen as the biggest threats to mankind. Now, some technology experts are warning that we should add, artificial intelligence to the list of things that could bring about our extinction. In a short but alarming letter, 300 of the world's leading researchers and executives in the AI industry said controlling their technology should be a global priority. They add that AI presents a societal scale risk similar to pandemics or nuclear war. Among those signing the letter was the head of Google's AI research division and the CEO of OpenAI, the company that, of course, produces ChatGPT. Let's talk more about the AI threat with one of the leading figures in the tech industry. Roger McNamee was an early investor in Facebook, who later warned about the societal risks of social media. He's also the co-founder of the venture cap firm Elevation Partners. Roger, thank you so much for being with us. People are already talking about this sort of AI arms race that we're entering into, this idea that companies are prioritizing sort of building these systems, the development and sort of the power of these systems over their safety. Is it too late at this point to slow things down?
Not at all. The first thing to understand, Zane, is that this letter and the ones that preceded it are all attempts to deflect responsibility. They're trying to make it appear that AI is somehow this inevitable force, that it is something beyond human control. And that is completely ridiculous. The 350 people who signed this thing are making automation software. That is what they do. They can stop it. They could control themselves and not do harm. AI can do great good. There are applications, for example, in drug discovery, where they carefully curate the training set in order to make new drugs. That's a really valuable use of AI. But that is not what these people are doing. What these people are doing is they're going out there and they are stealing content from the web, basically taking copyrighted material and any junk they may find in order to create these humongous data sets, then to create clever, fun apps that do enormous harm. And the issue we should be worried about is not extinction, but rather all the harms that are being done every single day in the form of discrimination in predictive policing, discrimination in mortgages, discrimination in jobs. All these things are early versions of the same kind of automation that we're talking about here. And the current one, ChatGPT, is in the process of essentially undermining what little credibility remains on the internet by filling it with junk.
So let me ask you this. Sam Altman obviously was just on Capitol Hill talking to lawmakers about the importance of the AI industry being regulated. So whose responsibility, if we're talking about regulation, that's obviously an important aspect of it. Whose responsibility is it? You talk about, obviously, the tech companies being able to slow progress down and avoiding the sort of AI arms race that we're already in. But of course, lawmakers have a responsibility as well. What should they be doing now?
So the core issue here is the incentives in the United States. The companies have been told by everyone, including policymakers, that they owe a fiduciary responsibility to one group of people only, shareholders. If everything is about maximizing shareholder value, then nothing else matters. Safety doesn't matter, democracy doesn't matter, public health doesn't matter. And as a consequence, the incentives have driven people to make increasingly dangerous technology products, not just in AI. Obviously, social media was incredibly dangerous. Cryptocurrencies have been dangerous. You know, a lot of the smart devices you see out there are dangerous. And the key thing to recognize here is that the incentives are broken and government has a responsibility. We see this going on in Europe now, an attempt to change the priorities, to change the incentives of the industry, to require public safety and to require much greater cooperation with democracy. In the United States, we have no such limits. And it is essential that Congress act to create rules for safety, rules for privacy, and rules for competition. It's not complicated. These are things Congress has done many times in the past. And the tech industry, despite what they tell you, is much less complicated than industries that are regulated routinely, like banking and like healthcare.
So just in terms of what Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, should be doing now? I mean, obviously, it's been less than a year or so since ChatGPT was released to the public. So the cat is technically out of the bag. What should OpenAI be doing right now? Just give me some specifics, just in terms of being able to slow things down and protect the public from some of the risks that we've just laid out.
Again, I think the framing of your question, Zane, is probably not the most helpful way to look at this. Right now, Sam Altman is trying to pretend as though he has no control over what OpenAI is doing. He's trying to pretend that somehow this is like Godzilla and it's running through Tokyo and wrecking everything and there's nothing he can do. I mean, this is completely ridiculous.
To be fair, he has also asked lawmakers to step in when it comes to regulating AI. And so that is something that he has done. I mean, why is that not enough? Surely lawmakers should be doing more at this point as well.
They certainly should, but let us not take our eye off the ball. These people are creating dangerous products with full knowledge. They are violating the copyrights of all the people whose content they steal with full knowledge. They know they are doing this. I think a better way of looking at what Sam Altman is doing is this is a very clever public relations strategy. He's trying to inoculate himself so that later on he can say, I told you so. He's making a bet that Congress in the United States is so broken that it cannot do anything. That has been a great bet. The tech industry has been making that bet for a decade, and it's worked consistently. So I do think it's really important that the public do two things. One, stop using these crappy products. That's the first thing we can do. The second thing we do is go to Congress and say, excuse me, technology products today are dangerous because you people have been absent without leave. You have not done your job in regulating them. This isn't actually that complicated. This industry is so much simpler than healthcare and banking, and yet we pretend like it's too complicated for Congress to deal with, and that just isn't so.
All right. Roger, back to me. You've made your stance very clear. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.